Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Bill Enzer, and I am the chairman of the Maryland Transportation Authority Capital Committee, and will be conducting this morning's meeting. I hereby call the meeting of the Capital Committee in order at 9 a.m. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the live streaming law, this meeting is hereby conducted via video conference and is being live streamed on the Maryland Transportation Authority Capital Committee page. As a reminder, all members of the Capital Committee will have their video active during the entirety of the meeting. And to minimize background noise during the call, I would ask that everyone online please mute your phones. I ask that anyone who is presenting or answering a question, please turn your video on when speaking. When you are done, please turn your video off and put your video on mute. There are no members of the public, no selected officials, no media have pre-registered to commit to today's meeting. At this time, we will move on to the agenda item number 1, which is open session meeting minutes of May 6th. I have a meeting.
I move for approval. It's Mario.
Okay.
Bill, second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Ayes have it and so approved. Okay, next we have KB 3007-0000, Public Headquarters Building Envelope Renovations. Robert Michael.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Capital Committee. My name is Robert Michael. I'm the Campus Facilities Engineering Manager in the Office of Engineering and Construction. I'm here to present to you today contract number KB 3007-0000, which is the Police Headquarters Building Renovation Project. The funding for this project is in the capital program under PIN number 2438. Before going through the specifics of this contract, I'd like to provide the members with some background as to how we arrived and developed the scope of this particular work to request award of this contract. The MDTA Police Headquarters Building is located at 4330 Broning Highway on the FSK facility campus. The original building was constructed in the early 1990s. Therefore, the structure is approximately 30+ years old. The purpose of the building currently is to provide space for MDTA police senior staff, as well as new recruit training academy and in-service training as well for existing officers to maintain their CALIA certification. Both the interior and exterior engineering evaluations have been performed of the building due to the age of the building and also some defects that have been noted over the years. The findings from the exterior facade and roof field inspection to determine the cause of moisture penetration are the basis for this contract work. During the field inspection, there were multiple predetermined locations where we actually removed brick to inspect behind the brick, the condition of existing through-wall flashings, and also the cavity between the brick and the block, which are designed to prevent moisture and water from penetrating and infiltrating the building. This inspection revealed that the flashing behind the brick was compromised and the cavity has mortar pack as well as other debris, preventing trapped water from escaping to the outside of the building. Therefore, moisture penetrating inside the building causes damage to interior finishes as well as carpeting, and also can create an atmosphere for mold growth. The engineers also performed an infrared scan of the building roof system And it was determined that there were areas of defective roof insulation that's currently holding moisture. These require removal and replacement during this project. So the KB 3007 project will address the exterior building envelope defects and designed to seal and prevent future moisture penetration. A future contract will be designed to address interior space needs once a new police training academy is relocated to an alternate site. The specific project scope of this work will entail exterior selective demolition and rebuilding of the envelope to include masonry, its flashing, roof repairs, an entire new coating system over the entire roof system that will provide a new 25-year warranty for the entire roofing system. We will also repair some localized slab differential settlement that has caused some issues in one of the vestibules as well as in the lobby of the building. At the same time, to accommodate these repairs, we will have to remove the existing storefront enclosure on that side, on that entrance. So we will be installing a new storefront on that entrance as well. The contract was advertised on December 23rd of year 2020. The bids were received and opened on March 17th, year 2021. An anticipated notice to proceed based upon this committee and board approvals would be in August of 2021. A contract duration of 270 calendar days has been included in the contract. For the MBE participation, as advertised, the overall goal was 24%, with a sub-goal for African American of 8% and a sub-goal of 11% for women business enterprise. There's also a VSBE component of 1% of the total contract value. The contractor has submitted a plan which includes an overall 24.32% MBE participation, meeting a 8.05% African American sub-goal and a 12.77% women sub-goal. The 1% VSBE goal has been proposed to be met with the plan as well. And this plan is currently being reviewed for approval by the MDTA Civil Rights and Fair Practice Division. The engineer's estimate for this contract was $713,860, which included a 65% miscellaneous construction allowance. On bid date, we received 9 total bids. On bid day, the lowest bid received was in the amount of $773,700. After bids were opened and contractors reviewed their bids, we were notified by the apparent low bidder of a mathematical error in their bid price. Upon receipt of that, they requested that their bid be withdrawn from consideration for award. The MDTA Office of Procurement approved that request. Therefore, we evaluating the second low bidder, Richmo Enterprises, for a bid price of $1,080,795.87. This is 51% over our engineer's estimate. The funding source will be 100% toll revenue for contract award. Since the bid was 51% over our engineer's estimate, we had our engineer and project manager do a bid justification evaluation for the bid. This document is included in your package. What we saw was that we had very limited items in the contract. So the bulk of the work, as I described in the summary, was on a lump sum basis included in item 4001 for the building envelope renovation. This entails work from ground level up to the second story and the roof line. So each of these require skilled labor, brick materials, aluminum, metal, equipment, demolition, scaffolding, and pedestrian protection. The building is required to be and remain operational and safe and waterproof during the entire construction duration, and accessible for fire escape as well as for daily activities. When we developed the engineer's estimate was prior to contract advertisement last year. We were looking at ENR at the time for what some projection of some of these factors could be. This is one of the first projects that the building section has advertised during the COVID era. So what we have seen since the time of advertisement to bid date and then projecting to the time of construction, there's been an increase in the Baltimore region from our information of a 15% increase in maybe in the building construction inflation cost and a 34% increase in materials from the time we've assessed it to the time that the contractor would probably purchase materials and be ready to install those materials. So prediction of these values, as we've spoken with our engineering estimated consultants, has been very challenging for them over this period of time. So that's our takeaway from our review of the bid and the bid justification for this contract. Therefore, Richmo Enterprises, also we conducted a brief reference check of them. They have not previously worked for the Maryland Transportation Authority. They have worked for Prince George's County government, as well as the University of Maryland system. Each of these references provided a positive response for the contractor's expertise, his ability to meet schedule, and completion of the contract work. We're requesting and recommending a contingent approval from the Capital Committee today for award of this contract to Richmo Enterprises Incorporated for presentation to the full board at their next scheduled meeting. Thank you for your time. I'll be glad to answer any questions that the committee members may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Second?
I'll second, but I would do have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's our philosophy on bid withdrawals?
You.
They say they made a mathematical error. This is largely a lump sum bid, so you can't really tell from the documents what they were. When you have one of your unit price bids, you can see the mathematical error. Here we can't. We have to trust them, I guess. And then I also wonder along the line, they have a bid bond up. What's the bid bond supposed to be for? They're supposed to hold us harmless from having to take a second bidder?
Those are procurement related questions. I would defer to the procurement experts if someone is available.
Aren't you making the call at who we take?
Well, yes, sir. I make the call, but in terms of a justification for the bid withdrawal, that's not my decision to approve the withdrawal.
So you get it when they're already gone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We get bids after. Yes, sir. And then we evaluate the estimates based upon the information.
I think there should be some consequences. If a guy can't add and subtract, we probably don't want him in the program. I don't know. Or multiply, maybe.
I made the motion. I second with Lee. That was my question also.
This is Donna DeCerbo, Director of Procurement. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Donna.
So obviously,
Morning,
yeah,
Donna.
it's not our preference. Good morning. It's not our preference, and it's really unusual for this to happen. But in this case, the detailed information from Nosto's spreadsheet, their mathematical error wasn't calculating the quantities and materials unit price. The accrual costs of the materials was $22,400 times square foot times $8.68. It should have been $194,432. They bid $15,680.
Wait, wait,
So
now,
it was an obvious error. So we don't like it, but when there's an obvious error and they cannot complete the work for this bid price, it's really in our best interest. We don't want to put them underwater and we don't want to harm ourselves. So although we don't like it, we did agree to allow them to withdraw their bid.
Tell me again, what item did they make the mistake on?
It was the quantities and materials unit price. The
I
accrual
don't
cost
see that.
was of the materials.
I don't see that on the bid tab here.
I believe it was item 4002.
Oh, wait a minute, okay, I see 4,000. Oh, wait, 4,002, roofing
Yes, sir.
repairs. So they bid $13 a square foot. Right? Is it
They
roofing-
bid, go ahead.
Is it roofing repairs? Is that what do you agree with that?
That's what I'm seeing, and which is only $1 more or less than,
Yeah, it's
Richmond.
$1 less than the second bidder.
The accrual cost was $22,400. Jeff, can you pull up the bid
I
sheet?
don't see 22,004 anywhere.
So when, it's Jeff Davis, Division of Procurement. I was coming on to support this question. I will pull up the bid information for you, but I did want to clarify, we cannot compel a bidder to lose money by entering into a contract with the state. So when they make a request to withdraw, we ask for the justification. And they typically will provide us, because our bids are open book, they will provide us with their quotes from their subcontractors and their quotes for materials, and show how the error was made in how it was an honest error. And we will evaluate that information and then determine whether or not we will allow them to withdraw. The request to withdraw is allowed per COMAR. We cannot put a hindrance on their ability to make that request. So we I just wanted to clarify that question for one of the members earlier who was asking, what's our opinion on it? Our opinion is we take in the facts from the vendor, we compare it against COMAR, and we look at the state's best interest. It is quite possible, even in a lump sum bid, for them to make a mathematical error within that lump sum. It's not necessarily a unit price related error, but I will look up those numbers for you right now. I just wanted to clarify that item. And
Let's see.
You had another question about bonding?
Well, why do you even have a bid bond then if you're not going to
So,
hold them?
so the bid bond, so if the bid is made in good faith and the bidder were to submit a bond with a good faith bid, and then they did not make some sort of request for a bid withdrawal or some sort of amendment to their bid, or did not notify us of any issue, but then when we got into the process of actually implementing the contract, moving on to pre-construction phases, if they were at that point to attempt to withdraw after they were in the contract phase, or if they were to pull out for some reason, that is
Well, that's
not their fault, but
that's-
a reason
that's
that they
performance. That's
right.
talking about a performance and payment bond.
I'm not at a performance point yet. So if we go all in with that low bidder, and then something happens and they become not susceptible for award to continue that contract, and it's not a scenario like this one where they can show us a mathematical error and they were to pull out, that bid bond will make us whole when we have to move on to bidder number 2, because bidder number 1, it was not withdrawn. It was we took the bid in good faith. We moved forward with that bidder. Turns out it was not in good faith. That bid bond can make us whole when we move to the second bidder.
So if you determine they're not dealing in good faith, then you would take the bid bond. I
Correct.
get it. Right. So in this case, they were dealing in good faith. But okay, well, show us the mathematical error. I don't see it.
Sure. It should
Anybody
be.
know? This is ABCs. Would anybody read
It
the
should be. It
bids?
should be in the backup. We submitted it to Michael, but he may not have submitted it in your backup. So that let me pull it up and review it for you.
I mean, sometimes they send us 75 pages of bid tabs and nobody wants to read. But here we want to see it, and we don't have it. You know?
Bear with me. I'm
Okay.
pulling it up right now. So in their withdrawal, in their request to make a withdrawal, because what they do is they will come to us and say, we made an error, we'd like to withdraw, and then we ask them to provide us the information.
Right.
They had made a mathematical error of $194,000. That should have been included in their bid. So when they made their calculations, they had an error of $194,387.20.
What was it? Where was that made? Which item was that made on?
It was determined that the labor and material unit cost per square foot of roof area did not populate the formula correctly and therefore showed an incorrect cost in our total column that was used in our bid. So they were stating an error in the spreadsheet.
This is item 4002, roofing repairs.
Yes.
Okay, they bid $14 a square foot for a total bid of $30,800, right?
Correct.
Second bidder bid. Oh, wait a minute.
Hey, Lee,
I'm looking at the wrong one.
not to interrupt, it
That
was
was low bidder.
28
They
cents
did
on the
13.
first.
I'm sorry.
And then the
I'm on
second,
the wrong one.
yeah, the second was 30,800.
The second bidder bid 14. The new low bidder, Richmo, bid $14 a square foot. I guess they made the same mistake, because then you go down to Atlanta, they're $213 a square foot. That can't be.
Right. If you look at
And
the rest of
next guy's
Richmo's bid,
Yes, the next one's 550.
right. So we do not dictate what prices they can front load into unit pricing,
Yeah,
such as
just
overhead items, management. So when you compare the two
Not
line
the
items, you might notice a parity there. But when you look at the way they loaded some of their other line items, you can see how they built their bids differently.
right.
And that is their prerogative on how they want to price the line.
So it doesn't. then it's basically trust me that we made a mistake, because they're
Correct.
I mean they were in the lower end of the roofing repairs, but they weren't the very lowest. They were almost
Right.
in the middle. So,
And then as a procurement officer, we are looking at the whole contract, and then you want to kind of look at the grouping of the bids. So that's part of the decision making. Is this bidder's telling us they low bid by mistake, and when you look at the other bids, you can see that there is a big gap between them, and they provided their reasoning, which we then used in our justification to allow them to withdraw.
Let me ask, Mr. Chairman, let me ask one more question of Jeffrey.
Sure thing.
In
Go ahead.
fact, were the bids opened when they made their withdrawal, or did they withdraw before the bids were open?
After the bid opening, they made their request, which is something
Yeah,
that is allowed per COMAR.
Yeah, a heart attack.
They
when he
can
saw
make
it.
the request after the fact.
Went back and came up with a reason to drop it. See, they had plenty of labor. They had plenty of labor on mobilization. They had 167,000, plenty of overhead, I mean. So,
Robert Michael did discuss earlier what they noticed when they were evaluating the bid prices of discrepancies between our estimate and the bids that came in, to show that Rich Mo's bid was reasonable. So there is maybe some areas in that bid
right.
that were unreasonable, but we did not go to that level of review because that was not what we were asked or what they had made the request to us to evaluate.
To Jeff's point, Comar states that we can allow them to withdraw if there's proof of evidential value, which clearly and convincingly demonstrates a mistake was made.
Well, you didn't get that.
Well, and let me pipe in a little bit here because we, the board members question some bids all the time when you find a bidder that's way lower than everybody else, right? And we have to do due diligence to find out if that bid is actually legitimate, and we ask them to explain how their bid is so much lower than the rest of the bids. We would do that due diligence here at the same time, right? So it's just a little bit of a reverse from what y'all normally ask when you see a very low bid. Are you sure they can do it for that? That's what the question usually is. So I mean, this is a very odd case, no question about it, but we make them explain when they're way below the estimate, the engineer's estimate, or way below all the other bidders all the time. And so if we were to ask them to tell us how they are way lower than the rest of the bids, we do that. And this is what they told us. So, I mean, I get it. I understand the questioning that you're doing, Member Gaines, but at the same time, remember that we get questioned all the time from not just the capital committee, but from other board members about why these bids are so much lower than other ones. So we do these justifications all the time.
Yeah, but we like them when they're lower.
Yeah, now I understand that, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I
it's
understand.
not different than the rest of the. It's not much different than the rest of the justifications that we do.
Right.
It has a different reason. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
but we ask for justifications all the time.
And Jim, if I could add one more thing, this is Will Pines, Chief Operating Officer. There was a question in there about why we didn't pursue the bid security or the bid bond. Why have that if you're not going to leverage it? I think it's helpful if I just read Comar for a second, because it actually talks about when you withdraw a bid. It says if a bidder offers or is permitted to withdraw a bid or proposal before award because of a mistake in a bid or proposal, action may not be taken against the bid security. Otherwise, action may be taken against the bid security of a bidder or offer that withdraws the bid. So it's actually in Comar that we're not allowed to do that unless the reason is something other than a mistake. So for example, if you won a big job in Southern Maryland and suddenly your crews are diverted to another project and you say, hey, I submitted a bid on this, but I'm actually too busy to do it right now, we're going to go after your bid security, right? But this is somebody made a legitimate mistake. We see the difference in the pricing, and based on Comar, we're not permitted to pursue the security in that kind of case. So I just want to make sure that there seemed to be some confusion about why have it. Well, we have it so that people can't just walk away in bad faith. So thank you.
Are these guys did other work with us, Nastos?
I am not familiar with this firm. I do not have any recollection of recent bids with them.
Okay.
Nor am I.
Okay.
Just to add some support to what Member Gaines is talking about, it sounds like we're going on good faith that they made a $194,000 error. They haven't. They've talked about it, but obviously we don't see it in the bid tabs. we're not sure that they just made an oops overall and just realized they left a whole lot of money on the table and they're just trying to get out. I mean, it almost seems
Well,
like I
that
understand
is-
what everybody's saying, but I also see like we're giving them a get out of jail free card almost
Yeah.
for future projects
We are.
or other contractors.
We do understand, remember again, Jimmy, we do understand that side of the coin. But we do have to work in good faith.
Okay.
We do have to maintain that good faith and that relationship with the vendor community. And also we do want to think about what's best for the MDTA. And in most cases, a vendor that wants to work with the MDTA is going to produce at a higher level than one that is compelled. But that is more based on experience. That is not, a procurement policy or a COMAR policy. Thank you.
Well, I guess
Okay.
we have to vote.
I mean,
Reluctantly
I don't think
vote.
it
but
does
vote.
Yeah, we're not going to do any good trying to force the issue, but
Right.
I think we should question whether we want to use this guy on another bid, maybe. I don't know. Let's see how it comes in. How they come in. Probably a job like this, you don't see many of them anyway, I guess. Building envelope repairs, it's kind of unusual.
Well, I'll vote. I just get rolling. I'll vote.
All vote, Bill. Oh,
Reluctant yay.
you calling the vote, Bill?
Pardon me?
You want to call the vote?
Call the vote.
Go to vote. Okay. How did you word the vote? Mario,
I made the motion and Lee second.
okay. All in favor
And that
of,
was in fake. Yep. Timo or Rich Mo.
Right.
okay, let's take a vote. All in favor, signify by aye.
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 Aye. It's unanimous.
The ayes have it.
You might want to ask for the nay just to make sure we're clean.
Okay,
All right, we know.
okay. Well, next we have approval of draft fiscal year 2022 through 2027 Consolidated Transportation Program, CTP. Approval of the 6-year capital budget. Jeannie, you're up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here to seek your recommendation for approval of the proposed draft fiscal year 22 to 27 CTP. This will also be presented to the Finance Committee for recommendation for approval on June 15th. Their meeting was recently rescheduled from June 8th to June 15th and will be presented to the full MDTA board for final approval on June 24th. The 6-year fiscal year 22 to 27 budget in the proposed CTP is $2.8 billion. This reflects a net increase in the 6-year time period of $90.4 million. And if we turn to attachment number 1, you see a breakdown of those changes. We'll be concentrating on the column that is titled Total 2022 to 2027. That's where the highlighted figures are. In the first line, we see that the Nice Middleton Bridge project had a $45.7 million increase in that time period. And I do want to remind you that these are not increases or decreases in the total cost of the projects. These are cash flow changes. In line 2, we see that the I-95 ETL Northern Extension had a $5.2 million decrease in that 6-year period. Line 3, which is the remainder of the CTP without the reserves, was a $90.1 million increase. The allocated and unallocated reserves decreased by $40.2 million. Line 5 is a combination of lines 3 and 4. And that brings us back to the total net increase of $90.4 million. And if you look over in column 2021, you see that there's a rollover of $77.8 million. And that has been incorporated in the fiscal year 22 to 27 time period. Now, if we'll turn to attachment number 2, there are detailed reasons for the changes in each project. In the first section, we see that we added 3 system preservation projects and 2 enhancement projects for an increase of $17.7 million. Now, you may recall that I presented at the May committee that there were going to be 4 new projects. But since then, we added the DINAC maintenance contract. DINAC is a system that manages the tunnel ventilation, fans, hydrocarbon and carbon monoxide sensors, pumps, lighting, cameras, control gates, signs, and signals at the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel, Fort McHenry Tunnel, and ICC. And in the second section, we see projects that were modified to reflect bids received. That resulted in a net decrease of $7.2 million in the time period. The next section is projects that were modified to add the construction phase. These are projects that when they reach 60% design, money was transferred from the reserves to fund these projects. There were 4 of those, and that resulted in a $16.2 million increase. Then there were 5 projects that were completed or deleted for a $1.1 million decrease. And then on page 2 of that attachment, we see that there were 38 active projects that were modified due to cost changes and cash flow adjustments. And that resulted in a $105 million increase in the 6-year time period. Then moving to page 3, you see the reserve changes. There was a $40.2 million decrease. And the last section is the changes from the final 21 to 26 CTP, excuse me, to the draft 22 to 27 CTP. And the budget changes projects is everything that was shown on the pages before that. And then the budget changes reserves is shown right above, excuse me. And then that brings us back to the 90.4 overall net increase of $90.4 million. And does, well, and I am seeking your recommendation for approval to take it to the board at their next meeting. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Oh, and Will Pines also wants to say something about the CTP proposal. Will, are you there?
I am. Thanks, Jeannie. I just wanted to note that this is a contingent approval, as Jeannie mentioned. This and the complete financial forecast are going to the Finance Committee. Any changes that may occur in the capital budget are anticipated to be cash flow changes at this point. You know, the project programs that we have, we still expect to move forward based on the analysis and the asset management approach that the team leverages. But we're working closely with finance on the financial forecast development. So just want to make it clear that the very final version that might get presented to the board may look a little bit different than the numbers you're seeing today. So thank you.
I move for approval.
I'll second.
I'll second it. Member Gaines beat me to it. He gets it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Must be all that tennis. He's quicker on his feet.
Thank you, Jeannie. Okay. Next, we have an update on the Maryland Transportation Authority Asset Management. John Prevost. Where's John?
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Sorry about that. Had a
Good
little
morning.
trouble with the camera. All right. Well, my name is John Privet. I am the asset manager for MDTA's Office of Engineering and Construction. I was actually just chasing down a dog that was going wild, so I apologize for being out of breath. I am here to present today an overview and update of our asset management program that we're operating within OEC, give some high-level overview of some of the many topics we're hitting on. But let me get started. If you see right now I'm on the title page, I'm going to kind of reference as we go. I don't have page numbers, but I will reference the title of each of these slides. Under the first slide we're going to look at is OEC asset management objectives. Before I get into that, I wanted to define what we mean when we're talking about asset management. So as defined by the AASHTO subcommittee on asset management is the strategic and systematic process of operating, maintaining, and expanding physical assets through their life cycle. I would want to add to that definition while we are efficiently allocating resources. The major principles we try to embody while we are doing asset management, we want to have a data-driven approach. We are performance-based. We are rooted in procedure, and we approach asset management holistically. Usually I will not read directly from these slides, but I wanted to go over, since we have put a lot of thought into what our objectives are in our asset management program, I wanted to quickly go over our goals through this program. So one of them is that we would like to have a streamlined information flow across the organization, particularly between engineering, construction, and operations. Additionally, we'll have up-to-date, accurate, and accessible GIS inventory. We also plan to make future investments and replacements that are prioritized and planned for based on defensible quantitative and qualitative performance measures. We are looking to reduce operation and maintenance costs due to more proactive and efficient management practices. We are looking for more accurate initial project scopes and reduce change orders due to improved asset inventory information. We're looking to restore or enhance the level of service of our assets across the board. And we are looking to have risk exposure identification and mitigation as part of our strategy. Going to the next page, which is titled Enterprise GIS Implementation. One of the biggest tools that we need to establish to accomplish these lofty goals is we do need a framework and a tool set that allows us to capture, maintain, steward, and analyze lots and lots of data. That is where we get into the implementation of our enterprise GIS system. In the past, MDTA has made use of the Google Earth platform as a GIS view of our different inventories and asset inventories across the board. This is a outright replacement, and we've worked hand in hand with our IT department to set up a what we are calling our asset registry, which is the detailed list of all of our organizational assets, at least as pertaining to OEC. Specifically, we use this is a common framework that is robust, scalable, available, and adaptive. It allows us to view all of our assets across the board and key descriptive attribute information. Additionally, this is a spatial-based system, so not only do we have the database record backends, but we have the ability to view it in spatial with the spatial reference as well. This system is robust and scalable. The production environment is set up of 8 virtual servers that are working in unison to have a cluster of SQL servers, a website front end, and also desktop analytical capabilities that are used by our asset management, our GIS staff, and all of our disciplines across the board. We will be using this. A key part of this new framework is that while it is housed inside, we also have it available. So our information is accessible not only on the computer on the network, it's accessible on the computer outside of our network and on mobile devices and applications, which allows us to assist in our inventory and condition assessment operations as well. Flipping to our next slide, which we're going to call inventory and condition assessment. If we are discussing, if we are talking about how we start establishing asset management, we really the foundation of asset management and the currency of asset management is data, specifically as relating to our assets. So the bread and butter of that is really having inventory and condition assessment data. We need to know what we have, where it is located. We need to know its critical information associated with it. Oftentimes that's installation dates, manufacturer, model, the category and class of asset, who maintains it within the organization. And through all of that, there's a lot of intensive work that goes into what we would sometimes consider some of the less glamorous jobs of doing inventory condition assessment. We have had over the last couple of years a really large focus on making sure that we streamline our inventory operations, our condition assessments, systematize it in a way that makes that information accessible, able to be analyzed, and to do some of the higher level asset management practices with that information. Moving on to the next slide, I wanted to highlight a couple of our efforts to do just that, which is the inventory and condition assessment. First off, with facilities, we have adopted a mobile assessment platform for our facilities assessments. This is specifically the MDOT required assessments, where we inspect 25% of our facilities on an annual basis. We look at major systems, including substructure, foundation, HVAC, electrical, security, and then major equipment as well. Sometimes we inspect to the component, sometimes at a system level where we identify these conditions. And overall, it gives us a temperature of the health of the building, those systems, and those assets in particular. We use this system within our GIS. If you're looking at the picture, you'll see in our actual asset viewer here, where we have available, where we have that inventory available within the GIS. That data is queryable through an easy point and click user interface. On the more complex end, our inspectors are actually able to recall this information on their mobile tablet, click on a building, initiate a new inspection, log all of that information in the system. And what took several weeks before to report after the assessments were performed on pen and paper, we are now able to export. I believe we did in about 2 hours to export that information and to push it over to MDOT for our annual reporting. Beyond just the improvements in doing that, that information is now cataloged and accessible for all of time for any other evaluations, for any decision making we're doing in allocating our resources, whether they be money, effort, additional supplemental assessment efforts, or some renewal strategies. Complementing that, I'm going to go to our next page, which is our facility asset inventory and Maximo integration pilot. This leverages similar technology. We're partnering with our operations group, and we have used our GIS system to set up similarly a mobile application that allows us to inventory and assess our assets on an asset by asset basis, which is a little bit different than those condition assessments, as the conditions are a little bit more generalized. However, with these, we are getting specific information. We're getting unique identification numbers. We're barcoding and scanning those barcodes to associate them with a specific barcode in the future to be recalled. We're entering key information that's coming from the O&M service manuals. You know, what are those key details of electrical components? What is the, what is the output of our generators? What is the fuel type we run on? And get into very specific information. Additionally, this gets passed into our relational database vertical model. This is a notoriously difficult model to set up and establish. It was a significant accomplishment to do that within MDTA, and we have implemented that model and are actually integrating that data right now on a test case basis with Maximo platform, so that our GIS and our Maximo share that asset inventory, where Maximo's strong points are in the very detailed asset management principles, gathering maintenance, keeping track of maintenance records, keeping warranty information, setting up preventative maintenance strategies. The GIS is very nimble in the fact that we can, within a couple of days, set up an application to inventory, condition assess, and also analyze that information. We have a lot more analytical capabilities in the Maximo. We have submitted an IT project request that we will be working on integrating the GIS with the Maximo in the future to get the best of both worlds and increase that communication, which aligns with our asset management goals with our operations groups. Moving on to the next slide, which we have inventory and condition assessment of structures. We are also partnering in depth with our structures discipline. We have done a complete overhaul of how we are managing our low-level light assets. We have over 3,500 low-level lights spread across the state. We have developed a GIS-based inventory and inspection platform. Again, we're doing those if you're looking at some of the pictures. We have a smart form entry that allows us to assess these with a simple scan of a barcode, and also based on the spatial location on the side of the road. We have about 25 inspectors that are on the roads right now that we have started in the past 2 weeks doing these inspections, and we're aggregating that information in real time, and we can actually start processing some of those defects and repairs as needed. This makes us a lot more agile in our approach to asset management. We were in one foul swoop able to complete our triennial inspections of our light poles, complete an inventory, and we're also verifying that inventory against some of our other MDOT partners, MDOT SHA in particular. We are also doing that with our other ancillary structures, such as our sign structures. We're using the GIS as a way to take the information that is within our ACER system, which we manage our structures, asset information, and it's also our task order management system. We're displaying that and analyzing the GIS to find any discrepancies, and we're also sharing that information in partnership with MDOT SHA and the Port Authority, and working through verification. I've done some ownership transfers, where in the past this technology was not available and the information and data share was not capable. So we've been getting quite a lot of depth and value added through those partnerships. Similar to Maximo, we are working and have completed the first round of an ACER API integration. By that, what we mean is we have a communication protocol that goes between ACER and our GIS. So where ACER is our home for tracking and maintaining our structures assets, and for managing those task orders, the GIS also needs to display that to the organization. So we're going to make that ACER data more widely available. It's also, again, we have more agility in analyzing that information, coming up with some in-depth analyses, looking at how we start using what we have on hand to inform our maintenance strategies even further. Moving past those two examples of some of our base level work in asset management, getting to some of the higher strata, we have been working on a project tracking system within our GIS. We created a centralized database with the spatial locations of all of our projects. We're pulling from CMAPs that information in a semi-automated fashion. We hope to get an automated pool from CMAPs in the future. We're enriching that information that's available within the CMAPs, which is how, across MDOT, we track all of our capital projects by providing specific spatial locations. If you look at the dashboard that's included on this slide page, you'll see that we have very discrete spatial locations of all of our projects. We have them categorized by what kind of work they are, whether they are highway or building, any kind of project category. And we're able to assess this information, use this for planning strategies, and ultimately this will go into our archival project strategy, where we can do recall and research of past information, past submittals, including designs, as-built, warranty information. Moving on, another one of our higher level initiatives, we're doing a criticality initiative across the board with our structures, tunnels, pavement, facilities, fleet, and IT classes. This is an MDOT initiative. By criticality, what we mean is consequence of failure. We want to know not only what we have and where it is and what condition it is, what happens if one of these specific assets are to fail. So we define that failure, and then we define the impact. Coupling that with condition information, we're able to start looking into modeling risk. So right now, if you look at the slide, we're on the criticality stage. The condition we have for most of our assets already, we will work on coupling these two together to get this risk score and establish a risk matrix, or what is formally known in the industry as a business risk exposure analysis. So we're making a lot of headway in that, and it helps, on a higher level to determine if we have a world with finite resources, not only referring to money, but also effort, time, and energy. Where are we best suited to put those resources? Moving on, have a quick couple of screenshots of the criticality analysis for our fleet group. We've partnered with Dave Sharpless and Mike Himmer out of our fleet group. They've helped us to assess the criticality across these. Let me actually go back one page really quick. I did not mention the criteria we're using to evaluate. So again, on that first criticality initiative page, we are looking at criticality or consequence of failure across the metrics of safety, level of service, regulatory, environmental, operations and maintenance, and financial economic, which just lets us have a holistic view of all of the varied impacts, not just from a functional perspective. So moving down to the criticality fleet slide, we have done just that. We're able to analyze what each kind of vehicle type and class we have on a per facility basis and how they stack up in their consequence of failure. Allows us to do some planning strategies in our fleet replacement or enhancement or renewal strategies. This is just a brief excerpt of that, and we'll be submitting these all to MDOT within the next month. One of the final slides I'm going to touch on here is our contract submissions. In completing the asset management lifecycle loop, it is notoriously difficult to keep track of all of what we own when you're talking about a major organization such as MDTA. Reason why is a lot of times we're constantly chasing our inventory information. By requiring submissions in a asset management or GIS data format from our contractors, we're able to close that loop from the beginning. We're not hunting down our inventories. They simply come to us and we include them within our system. We retire assets as they've been retired or replaced, and we are importing the new assets as they come in and as they're completed with rich attribute information. We're talking about installation dates, who the contractor was, what the contract number is. We are coupling that with some of our life cycle planning processes of our estimated service life, things of that information. So it closes that life cycle management loop. We are starting on these and have a couple of contracts that we're working on right now with these submissions. These, since we've let it up, we assume this will be coming in the next couple of years as this submission requirement takes effect with our active contracts. Moving down to lifecycle planning, we are looking at how we have more informed approaches for managing the life cycle of our assets. We've set up a enterprise data model for our assets in which we have standardized attribute information and data models across the board with all of our disciplines assets. Using that information, coupling it with other data such as what is the service life, what is the replacement cost of these assets, we're able to start getting really detailed information of what is our remaining service life on X facility between which mile markers. How do we consolidate the replacement of, if we're going to say, based on this example, generators, how do we couple that with an existing contract so that we can be more efficient in how we're doing these contracts and projects? This gives us more analytic capabilities, and we're looking to implement this approach with our drainage and our structures assets coming up as well. Moving to the final slide, which is asset management, what's next? We are dipping into a number of exciting topics. As I said, we're kind of we're getting more mature in our inventory and condition assessment and aggregation of that data, which opens the way for a little bit more of the higher level work, where we are going to be looking at climate change vulnerability modeling. And not only is condition of an asset a factor and its likelihood of failure, but what are the environmental impacts in 10, 20, 30 years, and how should we be planning from a fiscal perspective, also from a maintenance and reactive perspective. So we're looking at how we can model that and apply it to our assets across the board. As mentioned earlier, we'll be completing business risk exposure analysis. We've set up the consequence of failure or the criticality frameworks for a lot of our asset classes. Coupling that with our condition and likelihood of failure data, we're able to start modeling risk and registering risk within our system and having that as a framework for decision making in future for capital decisions. We are rolling out the MDTA GIS to the general population in the next couple of months. And then we are, again, just highlighting that we are integrating in cross-system coordination with our existing other asset management platforms so that we are not duplicating efforts and that we have cohesion and communication across the board. Lastly, we are working with each of our disciplines and some of our other disciplines in specific asset management planning strategies. How do we incorporate our criticality and likelihood of failure into our data models and into our decisions of funding and renewal? What are our level of service strategies that we want to implement for each of our asset classes? And then providing these groups the decision support tools they need to do this. A lot of that is technical applications hosted within our GIS, sometimes through other systems, but we want to give the tools to the people who are making decisions to make those proper decisions and be more informed. I appreciate you all listening to that presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them at this time.
Great presentation. Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'll
I
simply
appreciate
say,
it.
wow.
Yeah, very
Some pretty
impressive.
pretty
Very
intricate
impressive.
stuff
Yeah,
going on.
indeed.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a lot of fun, a lot of challenges. It's every day is a puzzle, and it's exciting to figure out how the pieces come together.
It's an eye opener.
How long have you been working?
Yeah.
I've been working at MDTA. I'm coming up on 2 years now. On the consultant side, I worked with OEC since 2014, doing a lot of the GIS and inventory and analysis, and it became a natural progression to start doing that work inside the walls of MDTA and having a bit more of an impact.
Wow, we
This
love
is
it. We stole somebody from the other direction. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. This is
Wow.
Jim Harkness. Acting chief engineer. I just wanted to add that, as you saw today, there's just a ton of activity going on in OEC and in MDTA and MDOT as well on the asset management front. So as you guys asked him, JP has been with us for going on 2 years now. So we were able to create a position for within OEC as an asset manager, which, as you said, we were able to lord JP over from the consultant side to our team. And since then, I mean, he came in, hit the ground running, developed, the big, picture, and then is, as you can see, also very detailed. So we had a whole bunch of individual efforts going on within the disciplines, and it's just JP's sort of task to unite those efforts and create tools and vision and strategies for moving forward with asset management. So I just wanted to jump on and say that he's been doing an awesome job for us, and we're all very impressed and excited about how we can use this information to make better decisions and keep MDTA positioned well for our assets.
Very good. Well, I guess we've come to the end of our agenda. Is there any other business that we need to discuss before we adjourn? Motion for
I'm good.
adjourn?
Everybody have a great rest of the week and a great weekend.
Okay. All in favor?
I move for adjournment.
Okay, we have an adjournment, and everyone signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
I think the ayes have it for sure. So be dismissed. Thank you.
All right, everybody have a good day.
Aye. Good day.
Have a good one.